Well, my friends, we're just under 2 weeks away from Battle Hardened Portland, and the main event is Team Blitz. So today, let's not only hype the event itself, but talk about this unique and creative format and how to approach it as you and your buddies head into PTown. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Team Constructed kind of feels to me like Flesh and Blood's version of a bar fight. So in honor of that, tonight we've gone with the Valda backdrop. Hey folks, welcome back to Dice Commando and Go Again, a fabulous cast. Thanks for joining. And that's right, tonight we are talking Team Blitz in honor of the upcoming Battle Hardened event in my hometown, Portland, Oregon, USA. This event is being hosted by none other than all-around good dude and Fab OG Travis from Fab Foundry. Now, again, if you're in the area, you're probably going, but a lot of people, you may want to travel as well, so go check it out. If you do decide to go and registered, please go ahead and use my affiliate link below with Travis. I promise you it's going to be a great event. Now, one thing I do want to add is it's at basically out at the airport, so you can kind of fly in, stay there, be there, and then fly out, but you don't really get to experience Portland. There's a lot of really cool things in my hometown. You should go really check it out. Give it a look. At least at one point, I don't know if this is still true, but at one point it had the highest strip club per capita in the United States. So that's a thing if that's your thing. Just make sure to stay safe when you're downtown. But again, there's a lot of really good beer in the area. So you'd be crazy to not check that out. All right, so tonight talking the event itself. And then, yes, we are doing this, as you can see, PTI style. So what I want to do first is kind of cover how the event works. And then I want to talk strategy a little bit. All right, so Team Constructed it's very interesting the way this works, right? So you form a team of 3 people, so yourself and 2 others. And what happens is you each get either a wristband or a card or however they'll decide to do it. And you all bring 3 different heroes, okay? And then you are given player A, B, and C, or 1, 2, 3. In the rules here, which you can see here, it actually says A, B, and C. And what happens is each round, when you're paired up with another team, your A player plays their A player, your B player plays their B player, and that's right, your C player plays their C player. So that's there's an interesting strategy to it in that you're automatically paired up, and it's not like you get to pick and choose which match you're going to go in, right? I have seen some formats before where we roll for initiative, I get to choose first, then you get to choose, and then whoever's left over gets the third round or the third match, whatever you want to call it. That's not the case, right? So in this situation, in Team Blitz, or I should say Team Constructed, because it holds whether it's Blitz or CC or whatever. But in this particular case, your first choice, your second choice, and your third choice will play their first choice, second choice, third choice. That's the way it works, kids. All right. Now, again, to be very clear here, everyone has to play a different hero. Now, in the case of, and this is relevant for Blitz, you can, Prism, OG Prism, and New Prism are considered to be different heroes, right? They actually use the example here as Bravo Showstopper and Bravo Star of the Show. Obviously, that's, not relevant here because that's CC, but it is relevant to Prisms, I believe. Oh, no, Arachne as well, right? There are 2 versions of Arachne. Oh, and Dorinthea, 2 versions of it. So, yeah, multiple options. So just remove any. And actually, that might be something you want to do. I could see a team running, go all warrior, right? Go Kassai, Dorinthea, and Quicksilver Prodigy. That's actually not too bad from just a consistency standpoint. All right. So again, there's other rules on there. Again, I recommend that if you're going to do it, you go read the actual rules on Flesh and Blood's webpage, but that's functionally how it works, right? So why that's relevant and why I bring that up is really starting to think about strategy, right? So now the first part of this I want to talk about is the current Blitz meta, because that's relevant for the strategy discussion as well. So what I'm showing up right now are the final results of Blitz Skirmish Season 7. That said, there's one exception to this. Drone was legal for this. So the sideboarding's carried, but drone is legal was legal for this, and it is no longer legal. As that said, you see that Ira's in 5th place. I do not believe Ira would have been in 5th place in Skirmish 7 had drone not been legal. She also picked up 10 points on, I believe it was the Calling UK or Calling Birmingham. Yes, it was. She picked up 10 points there, or not at the Calling, but an event at the Calling Birmingham. She picked up points there as well. But again, drone not out. So I think she falls off this list. But what we're looking at here are we have Kassai, Chane, Dash, and Kano are the big 4 in the format as per the data of Skirmish Season 7. That said, if you combine the 2 Prisms, they're relevant as well. They are certainly relevant for this overall discussion in terms of sideboarding being relevant and attacking them or sideboarding for them, because one of the things you sideboard in, well, that would be poppers now, wouldn't it? All right, so that's the Blitz meta on the whole, okay? Now, in terms of the strategy discussion, my first recommendation is play your team first, right? It is no secret in Flesh and Blood that experience, reps matter. So if you have the folks that you've chosen to play with, if they are best at their heroes, that's probably the way to go, right? Like I know from talking to some of my folks, I'm not going to give names away, but Rhinar's pretty popular in the Portland area. I don't think that comes as a surprise to many people. We have, right, Nathan Dolman in the area. We have other people in the area who are very good on Rhinar. I would expect to see a fair amount of Rhinar represented in PDX, right? Now, that doesn't mean I'm saying tech into Rhinar. That's not what I'm saying, and I don't really know how you do that in general anyway, because they just intimidate you, and game over. But again, to my point, play your team. Right? If you have someone who's really good on some random hero, they still might be able to play that hero better than trying to meta it and put themselves in an uncomfortable situation. All right, so the next general strategy is just good stuff, which is essentially pick the top 3 heroes, right? You could say, I'm going to go Kassai, Chane, and Dash, for example, right? That would be a very reasonable play. Or Kassai, Chane, Kano, whatever, right? That'd be a very reasonable play. Now, the reason that that's pretty logical is that you're not picking your pairs, right? You're not coming in and trying to, it's not that your 3 collectively are better than their 3. The matchups have to work too, but you don't get to pick the matchups. So on the whole, there's not bad logic in just bringing the best stuff, right? That's a completely fair way to go. That said, I kind of like the idea of bringing 2 solid, consistent heroes and then 1 wild card. And what I mean by that is something like Kassai is probably the most consistent hero in the format, I would think, and into the field at large. I think Kassai, I think you almost want to, I mean, again, I'm very, very biased on this. I love her, but I think she's a great choice for at least 1 on your team. In terms of what position you choose to put her into, honestly, I think it doesn't matter, because if you're trying to figure out, well, if I go A, they'll go B, someone else, and then B, C, right? Like, how are you going to do that into a large field, right? I just don't think it's practical. So it doesn't really matter in terms of positioning, but I think you want 1 Kassai, just in terms of consistency. And then really it boils down to, do you want something else that's consistent? I think you do. And Chane he's good. He's very, very good. He has some bad matchups, though, and can get fatigued. One of the ones that are very good into fatiguing him is Kassai. So I think there's an argument to be made for, I know he's the big bad right now. He did very, very, very well in the UK last weekend, or actually 2 days ago as of me shooting this. So again, I get it, but he can have bad matchups. So again, someone even consistent, like a Dash is pretty good, right? Dash has only a handful of really, really bad matchups and can just kind of do their thing. And again, over a bunch of rounds, Dash is pretty good. So again, picking those more consistent heroes. And then I think you need someone like a Spiker, right? And I would put Kano in a Spiker role. Sometimes they just win. And when they have a bad matchup, they lose. But then you have 2 other consistent heroes that are there to get your other 2 wins. Because remember, it doesn't matter if your team goes 3-0, doesn't matter if your team goes 2-1, your team still wins. So that's basically my argument, is say, hey, look, let's take 2 heroes that we can consistently win against a large amount of the field with, and then we'll have our Spiker. And that way, if one of our consistent hero goes down, we still have a good chance on our Spiker. And we might also just, in some cases, we're just going to get free wins from our Spiker. In another case, I would actually consider like Prism to be in that spiker slot. Prism has I mean, again, we saw the data from Skirmish Season 7. She has some bad matchups. Both of them have some bad, right? Both versions of Prism have bad matchups. If you run up against somebody with poppers, we get it. But can also just win games if they don't. And I think that that's your relief valve. So again, I think both strategies, in terms of by both strategies, I mean the just good stuff versus the, 2 solid 1 wild card. I think there's advantages and disadvantages to both. But I think that if you have someone who's really good on one of those spikers, like I'd even consider like a Rhinar, right, in that. So like a Kano, a Prism, a Rhinar in kind of that quote unquote wild card slot. I think that you then counter that with 2 pretty consistent heroes. And I think you're going to have a pretty good chance overall in the day of being able to secure your 2-1. But again, just running all good stuff that you know how to run is also a pretty solid strategy. So in the end, right, strategy aside and all that, you folks are going to play a lot of Fab and you're going to have a lot of fun, especially with your within your team and without your team. I think it's going to be an absolute blast. It kills me that this happened at a time when I am traveling and I'm not in town and I will not be able to be there. It's a super big bummer for me, but I know that all my folks that I play with all the time, all the DC team folks, are going to have a great time. So anyway, I think you should absolutely be there. Just pick 2 of your buddies, 2 of your friends, figure out a strategy, go in, have a good time, and play some Fab. So anyway, folks, that'll do it. Super excited to see what the results are of this, not this weekend, but the next weekend, right? September 16th to 17th. You all are going to have a lot of fun. I'm going to miss you, and if nothing else, go Commando.